Cool. I'm excited about this morning, and there's just so much and so little time, so we're just going to dive straight into it. We left last week. For those who remember, we had Satan coming and God bragging on Job and going, okay. And yeah, exactly. Satan taking a gap, and it affected him with his family and his servants and his goods and chattels and his children. And by the end of it, what was his response? What was Job's response at the end of chapter 1?
God gives.
God gives, God takes away. Like he's the one who's got this, and we can trust in him for that. So then we get to chapter 2, and we're going to move along swiftly. So this is the second encounter. So in essence, did Job succeed in that assignment?
Yes.
100%. Satan said, if I take all the stuff and I take him, is he going to turn from God? And the reality was no. So he gets that one right. So we're on to the second encounter. On another day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before. And the Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" And Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming around the earth, going back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered?" I love God. It's like he's like rubbing it in. It's like, so have you considered my servant Job? You big mouth. That was. Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. What a statement! Yeah. Hey, that God says of a man. Yeah. So now he's upping the ante, even in his brag about who Job is. There's no one on the earth like him. He is blameless and upright, i.e., even when you've stirred the pot. A man who fears God and shuns evil, and he still maintains his integrity. Don't you love that line? And he still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason. Satan goes, skin for skin. It's a proverb that basically it's a bartering proverb. It's like, we'll see. If we take life for life here, we'll see who he actually chooses. Satan replied, "A man will give all he has for his own life. But now, stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face." So now he's upping the ante. The Lord said to Satan, "Very well, then he is in your hands, but you must spare his life." Just a comment, as we said last time, Job never knows about this interaction.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a privy to this view that he never has. So when Job goes through his sickness, that we're going to look at it in a moment, he never knows that it's not fatal. Yeah. Do you understand? We know that he doesn't die of it, but the man is feeling like he's on death's door. Yeah. And so when he speaks, that's the place he's speaking from. He's like, I'm on death's door here. Like I don't know if I'm going to make it. So we just need to remember that perspective. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat among the ashes. And so it's the list of things. As you go through Job, there is a list of things that come up of the things that were wrong. I'm just going to list the things that come up in Job. I'm not going to tell you where in the book it comes up. But inflamed ulcerous sores. They were itching. They were degenerative, and there were changes on his facial skin. He had a loss of appetite. He had depression. He had nightmares. He had worms and boils. He had hardened skin and running sores. He had difficulty in breathing. He had dark eyelids, failing vision, foul breath, rotting teeth, loss of weight, continual pain, restlessness, and the peeling blackened skin and fever. And this all lasted for several years.
So what have I got to learn?
That's just like the man had it. Like so. It's not the odd boil. It's not the odd boil. There's been a lot of speculations from doctors over the years as to what he had. Probably the most common consensus is elephantitis. But whatever, it was horrible and it was foul.
It lasted a long time. I didn't realise it lasted.
Yeah, lasted several years. Several years. Yeah. So this is not a quick fix. This is he is in this dilemma. So I wanted to list all of those things that they mentioned it right throughout the Job. We're not going to get to go all to all those verses, but those were the characteristics of what he was suffering with when we read this. And so then he's sitting on this ash heap, and you think, why the hell an ash heap? Actually, everybody says, actually, that's the wisdom of God in it, because the ash heap would have been your most sanitary place. Because it's ash, and it would be not only good for his wounds, but it would be, it's actually sterile, because ash holds that. So we always think,
maybe dried out.
Because we take charcoal to draw out the impurities, but because of that, an ash heap is quite sterile. So it's this interesting dynamic where we look at that and we go, why would you sit on an ash heap when you have these? But God in his wisdom and gave them to these people that they actually did know the best way to deal with it. And so he was sitting, opening up his ulcerous sores on the ash heap, which would then have gone into source to help pour it out. Still gross, but you see the part in it. Verse 9. His wife said to him, are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die. Now, let me just, let me read it finished and I'll say it.
Why would the wife say
Hang
that?
on, I'll get there in a minute. He replied, you are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? In all of this, Job did not sin in what he had said. Now, just a few things here. So, Job's wife always gets a really bad rap at this point. But in the Septuagint, which is the sort of rabbis' writings from the ancient times about it, they don't portray her as being mean. They portray her as being merciful. In other words, she's encountering him living through this list that we've just read. The man is in incredible pain, having the most horrible symptoms, and what she's saying is like, I can't stand to see you in this pain. Like just curse God. This is the best way to end this. Then do that, because my heart is so for you. I can't watch you suffering like that. So in the context of the Hebrew, that is how it is seen. It is not seen that she's a bat trying to make his life difficult. I mean, the poor woman gets a really bad rap in that. And even in the next line, because she says, because she realized the dynamic here was that he refused to not be a man of integrity and to curse God. We're going to see in chapter 3, he curses just about everything else, but he doesn't ever curse God. He doesn't go there. He retains his integrity. And there was a very real understanding of that is where your life is held. And so she's going, curse God now. So then it says in verse 10, he replied, you are talking like a foolish woman. And that's very important to note. He's not saying you are a foolish woman. He's going, come on, guys, dearie Mrs. Job, we are better than that. We know better than that. We know that God is God, and that's what he says. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? Come on, this is not who we serve and how we serve God. Don't be like the rest of them. That's not who we are. So just even his address is calling her back to what they were and to a higher standard of going, she's not normally like this. Don't become like the other now and become foolish and take your eyes off God. God is still in control. And why should he not give us trouble? If we're okay getting blessings from him, why are we not okay in receiving trouble from him? If we're going to trust him in everything. So there's this understanding that comes into that. And then that line, in all of this, Job did not sin. How amazing is that line? It's quite something. So just watch Satan's premise here. Satan's premise in the whole deal is he wants, his idea is that man is only interested in themselves. They're self-interested beings. That's his premise of why he comes and he does what he does. He's like, if you take away his goods, he's not going to serve you. If you take away his health, he's not going to serve you. So this premise is man lives for his own blessing, edification, comfort. It's all about him. And so both of those things, he comes with the premise of going, they're not going to choose you for you, God. They're going to choose, they take away their stuff or take away their health, and they're not going to choose you, which is a huge thing here. Do we worship God for God regardless of what happens? Easy to say yes. But he gets to the point here, and this is Satan's thing here, of going, please, he's not going to continue worshiping you just for you. He's going to worship you for what he gets out of this, which is why they took away the blessings in the beginning, and then they take away your health. I will only worship God if he's good to me, if he blesses me, if he solves my problem, if he, whatever. And that's Satan's premise in this whole deal. Now, I'm not going to ask who you think, how we do with that test, but that is what he's saying. Satan's thing is, actually guys, I don't think God's people worship God for God. That makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. So,
Sorry, that's mine.
no, it's fine. Just continuing that in all that Job did, he did not sin in what he said. There is this picture that Job has learned to shelter in God's grace, to find his shelter in God. And we see this like that. It's the concept of my life is a gift, not a reward.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He understands that my life is a gift from God, not a reward. I don't deserve, it's not a reward.
Yeah.
I don't deserve anything. What I have is a gift. And so if it's good, I thank him. If I don't get it, it's fine because I don't deserve anything. It is a gift, not a reward. So he has that understanding of that. And so here we see again, it's 2 for 0. Because once again, Job goes, actually, when all the sores hit, his response to him and his wife is going, you know what, actually, I'm not going to speak ill of God. I'm not going to curse God. I am going to accept good and trouble from God. And so we see Job again, tick. He wins, for want of a better word, and he doesn't stoop to the evil one's temptations in this. But here comes this part is where we go into the next section, and this will be where we think. Verse 11: When Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. Okay, so just very quickly, Eliphaz was from Eden, Bildad was from the middle of the Euphrates, and Zophar basically was from Judah. So they were from
Different
areas. So you realize that Job is a international man of mystery. Like he is known by his friends, come from far and wide, and these guys were known as the wisest of the wise. So these 3 friends represent man's wisdom. And you're going to see it come through a lot here. But they are not the dumb idiots. They are the guys who really know their stuff. The challenge here, and you're going to see it, when these 3 friends start talking, why Job is such a difficult book is because everything they say is right. Yeah. It's just not always true. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see this. Their theology is unmatched. The way commentators often summarize these friends is Eliphaz the eloquent, Bildad the brutal, and Zohar the zealous, because that is the tones that they take. You'll see Eliphaz has a lot more to say, and he prattles on very eloquently. And just very quickly, we read, I mean, Marcel said it this morning and my mom said it before, we read Job and go, oh my gosh, it's like waffle. But that is the basis of Jewish poetry. In English, poetry generally rhymes. In Hebrew, what makes it a poem is that you take a thing from 3 to 5 times from different things. So you repeat it in 3 to 5 different ways. That's what makes it a poem. So when you and I go, it's waffle, there's one passage we're going to read, and they use, I think it's 7 different words for a lion saying the same thing. I'm like, dude, like a lion is a lion is a lion, but they use 7 different names. But it is this picture of saying the same thing. And you'll see it, this cyclical thing come a lot in this next dynamic with the 3 friends that come to speak to him. It's a big deal. So it is part of poetry, but also part of the cycle of Job here. So we're going to see these 3 friends. So they come from far, and they've come now to be his friend. So we see that he's a man of mystery, and he's well known, and they come to him. And they heard about all his troubles, and they came upon him, and they set out from their homes, and they met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. I just have to laugh at those 2 words, because I'm not sure he got either of those 2 things from them, but whatever. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. But I mean, you can imagine, if he has all those conditions that we've just seen, it's no wonder. And they began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads, which is again a manifestation of their grief. And they sat down on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights, and no one said a word to him, because they saw how great he was suffering.
That is good friendship.
It's really good friendship, and this is the one thing that they get really right. So in a Jewish culture, this is called sitting shiva, and it's shiva means 7, and the idea is in grief you come and you sit with the person in their grief. And you don't say anything, you don't come in, nothing, you just sit. You just be there. And so they come and they don't say a word for 7 days. Like they just in the ashes with the man, going, we're here. And you're going to see later on, it's quite a thing because the man smelt and he, it was ulcerous, and they talk about his breath stinking and nobody else wanted to be around him. Not even his manservant wanted to be around him. We'll read that later. And so we see this dynamic of they come and these are wealthy men from all over the country come and sit in the dirt with him and just be, and which is a really, really good way to navigate grief and pain with people. Is just don't have to say anything. It's just about being there. And so they sit, and no one said a word because they saw his great suffering. After the week, chapter 3, Job then begins to speak, and he pours out his woes. He after week and understanding and navigating all that he's been through, because don't forget this was, a great loss after great loss. And so he processes it. And I gave it to you in some of the readings last week. He processes this thing of going, he asks these questions. He keeps, funny enough, in Job, there is 130 questions asked, more than in any other book in the Bible. I think the next highest is like 180 or 160. Psalms 160, Genesis 160. That's the general number of questions. He's 330 in Job of going, he just gets to ask. But it's interesting, it's this dynamic of he asks, but it's never, how can I say, he's asking, but it's not a case of, well, you need to answer me for clarity, I need the answer. It's that picture of vulnerability and, what would be the word, just being real. Pouring out your heart to someone. He's not necessarily needing a direct answer on all of us. We'll see. He asks a lot of questions, and most of them are not throwaway, but it's that thing of going. There's a lot of different. The one person wrote, there's a lot of difference between questioning God and bringing our questions to God, and that He gets right. Does that make sense? There's a lot of difference between questioning God and bringing our questions to God. And what Job does is he brings his questions to God. He doesn't question God, which is why he can stay with that integrity in it all. Does that make sense? Yes. So that's really important to see. Okay, so I'm not going to read through chapter 3. He just shares his woes of going, why am I born, Lord? Why did we even start this? What is going on here? And you see there's a lot of pain that is worked through. Verse 26, I have no peace or no quietness. I have no rest, but only turmoil. And so he's very real about where he's at this point in the process. But then his friends begin to speak. And this is where I'm going to summarize. His friends now speak from verse 4 all the way to verse 28. And that's what I need to summarize today, because we're not going to go through all of it. I'm going to give you clips of it. But just to give you a picture here. So here's these three friends. And the way that it works is Job now speaks, and then Eliphaz speaks, and then Job answers, and then Bildad speaks, and then Job answers, and then Zophar speaks, and then it happens again in that order. And then it happens Eliphaz, Job, Bildad, and then suddenly in chapter 28 something hits and everything changes. It's like the sequence that's going around and going around. The third time around it gets cut off in the middle, and it's very clear in scripture of going, and interesting enough, that verse is called the hymn of wisdom, of going, hang on enough of hearing all of this. What, God, is your wisdom? What is truth? And that ends the cycle of pulling their hair out in one way or another, and we'll unpack that in a moment. So it is this interesting thing where he navigates it, as I said, for 27 chapters, or 24 chapters. But in the end, he's like, no. And he's able, and I just think it's amazing that this man, with all this rubbish being fed to him, is able to go, actually, no. God, what is your truth? And oh, that we will be people that would get to that place of going, doesn't matter what everybody else says. It only matters what you say. What is truth? And so I want to get us to the last part of this book, because that is where the real point, because that's where God answers. And interestingly enough, there's these three friends. Then there's a fourth person that comes in, Eliud, where he's not classed as their friend. In essence, he's someone who overhears all this conversation and then comes and says stuff. God opposes these three friends. very much in the end, never mentions the other guy. So he doesn't oppose the other guy, but we'll deal with him later. So what I want us to look today is these three friends that come. Now, you are asking what I mean by that. So these guys are, what they speak is theologically correct. You'll see what they say is true. But it's not true to where Job is, and to who he is, and to the time he's in. And so it's this thing of, often we chase wisdom, even theological wisdom. And we go, this is what God's word says. And God's going, yeah, but it's not what I'm saying here, and it's not what I'm saying now. And so these guys, they come with the truth of theology, but funny enough, with a one-sided perspective. And this is what happens, and is really dangerous in Christian circles, is when we come with amazing theology, but with a dodgy perspective. And what I'm saying is, these guys come with good theology, in fact, fantastic theology, but with only a perspective of God's justice. They forget that he's a God of love, he's a God of mercy, he's a God of forgiveness, that he disciplines his children and leads them into wholeness. They forget that whole side of God. So they take the theology and they hammer it out in the square block of this in the form of justice, which in the words of it, there's nothing wrong with it. But God is not demonstrating justice he is demonstrating love and forgiveness on Job in this point. And so even for us, we need to be very careful that we don't use God's word as a battering ram. Again, it's that verse, chapter 28, where he gets to, he's going, God, what is your wisdom in this situation? What are you wanting to say? Interestingly enough, these godly men, and they really are, they come with huge biblical insights. They are not, because they live with the first people, the oldest book in the Bible, or the dumbest, like, not at all. The eloquence of their speech, the quality, Merton said this was the best poem ever written in the world. The quality of what there is here in the words and their speech was phenomenal. And they come with wisdom that, as I said to you last week, science-wise and everything else, we're only catching up to now. So these are not dummies. They come with a high level of theology and truth. But it's how we meter out truth. And it's that whole thing of it's always spirit and truth that needs to be at play. Who God is. I can't meter out God's truth without love. If I am, it is incorrect. And this is a huge thing in Job. And needs to be a huge thing in our lives. That our perspective is always God, who is a good God, he's a loving God, he's a forgiving God. Yes, there's truth. Yes, he's just. But he's never just alone. Make sense? So we have this. So we have these two friends, and they come and they share this. Interestingly enough, not once, there's prayers all the way through the book of Job, but not once do these friends pray. They don't pray for Job, and they don't pray to God, seeking God's wisdom in this deal. Job, on the other hand, every time he responds to them, he starts talking to them and then ends up talking to God about what they're saying to him. Everything they lay at him, he takes back to God. That is a biblical principle I wish we would all learn too. Yeah. Where we have man's voice and man's opinions and man's whatever, and Job listens and he grapples with it, but he doesn't grapple with them. He turns and goes, no, God, this is what they're saying. What is going on? This is honestly how I'm feeling. But again, he's asking him the questions. He's not questioning him. Yes. Does that make sense? And so there's this beautiful dynamic of who Job is in the midst of this. And the more I read it, to be honest, the more I'm falling in love with it. I'm just like, I feel like a giddy little girl the last 2 days reading this stuff because it is so intimate. Because we think that this is all about Job's pain for what had happened. Interestingly enough, after chapter 2, it's like a line is drawn and Satan's never heard of again. And Job has reconciled. Like, obviously, he's still sick and he's still hurting. That's the nature of it. But he never focuses on what he lost in the first chapter or his health in the second. His angst for the entirety of the book, and it's what they are challenging, is his relationship with God. He's going, God, where are you? I can't feel you. I can't hear you. I know you are a good God. I want to encounter you. So the angst of Job is not anything about the first 2 chapters in the rest of the book. It's not about his loss, because we've seen those 2 lines. You know, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. He's saying, you know, should I say only receive good and bad? I'm not painless from it, but I've reconciled that. I understand that, and I can actually live without that. But I cannot live without you. That is the heart of Job. Going, God, like I don't know what is there. What is, and that's the counsel that these friends give. They give their theory as to why God is distant, which is the problem here. So he comes and his anguish is not what we actually think it is. His anguish is I love you, and interesting, you're going to see his theology develop, because in the beginning he thinks exactly like his friends, and then the more he speaks to God, you realize it changes. And he has a different picture of who God is and who he is, which I said in the beginning. This is about God's identity and our identity that God's growing us into. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to dip in and out of, as I said, they all, Eliphaz speaks 3 times, Bildad speaks 3 times, and Zohar speaks twice, but I'm going to dip in and out. We're not going to go to each thing. But basically, their premise is Job is suffering because he's a sinner. So what have you done? Sort it out. And but here's the step that we don't get to. So each one of them are saying in different ways. One's more bombastic than the other. But basically, you are a sinner. Evil comes to evildoers, therefore you are evil. That's their headspace here. Bad things have happened, therefore you are bad. Make right with God. That's their counsel, which is not bad counsel in the sense of, we know that when we have sinned, we need to make right. So that context is clear, but it is not Job's context. But interesting enough, as we go along, and we're going to give them, but I want you to put them in your head already. You need to notice that their point of this is make right with God so that you will be blessed and have prosperity again. So notice that their agenda is Satan's agenda. So what is the third temptation Satan's using here? Is the friends. Their thing is, you sin, go grovel to God thing, and then God will give you back the stuff. And Job's going, I don't care about the stuff. I am not making right to be blessed, to be prosperous. I just want him. But you see, and again, this attack of Satan, which is his worst attack through the friends, attacks Job's faith. That's what it does. It attacks Job's faith.
Good works.
Yeah,
Story.
completely. And they navigate this. So we see that even his friends, there's truth, but the add-on, which ironically it's that seek first the kingdom of God and he will add all things. Will God bless and prosper? Yes, sure. But that is not his motive for doing it. Because if he had done that with that motive, he would have justified what Satan had said. He would have fulfilled Satan's premise of you loving God and making right with God for what you can get from God. So it keeps coming up. Why do we worship God? For the stuff he gives us, for the protection we want, for the whatever, or are we worshiping God for God? And if everything else is taken away, is it still all about him? Okay, so let's go. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. This is your third page. Eliphaz speaks. Then Eliphaz, he says, should anyone try to speak with you when you are exhausted? The answer should be no. So he asks the right question, but he doesn't take his own flippant advice. Yet, who can keep from speaking? Clearly not you, buddy. Hence why he's Eliphaz the eloquent, because the man doesn't shut up. Indeed, you have instructed many and have strengthened weak hands. Your words have steadied the one who was stumbling and braced the knees of those that were buckling. But now that this has happened to you, you have become exhausted. It strikes you and you are dismayed. Isn't your piety your confidence? And your integrity of your life, your hope. He's like, where has this got you? And basically, Job's answer to that later on, we're going to see is like, no, my piety and my integrity is not where my confidence lies. Where does my confidence lie? In God. It's not about how good I am that I think I'm going to be standing because I'm a good man. I am barely hanging on, and he uses, this is where that phrase comes from, by the skin of my teeth. We'll see that later. I am hanging on by the skin of my teeth because it's about God. It's not because my integrity is in play here. Consider, this is Eliphaz still speaking, consider who has perished when he was innocent. This is a low blow.
Yeah.
He's lost his children. And so basically he's going, well, consider who's died because of the evil. I mean, the man has no tact. When have the honest been destroyed? In my experience, those who plow injustice and those who sow trouble reap the same. In other words, there's something in you that's unjust and whatever, and that's why you are reaping what you sow.
Sure.
Bottom line. Fantastic, guys. Yeah, no. Yeah, exactly. Let's just skip a few verses. I'm going to jump around. Okay, and before I do that, let me just... okay, let me carry on reading from verse 9, just because I want you to see something. They perish at a single blast from God and come to an end with the breath of his nostril. Verse 12. A word was brought to me in secret. Now listen to this. My ears caught a whisper of it. Among unsettling thoughts from visions in the night, when deep sleep comes over a man, fear and trembling came over me and made all my bones shake. I felt a draft on my face. And the hair on my body stood up. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, same thing. A figure stood there, but I could not recognize its appearance. A form loomed before my eyes. I heard a whispering voice. Can a mortal be righteous before God? Can a man be pure, more pure than his maker? So basically what he's going here is going, you know what? Not is he just saying truth. He's going, God has told me this. I had this vision and encounter. Interestingly enough, that word when there is ruach, in what it is, and it's funny enough, it's written in the feminine, so the apparition, the wind, whatever, is in the feminine and with male verbs. In other words, the only other time it is used in scripture is for who?
For the Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit. Yeah. So he's going, come on, the Spirit came and spoke to me and told me this. So he is trying to back up what he's saying big time. It's like, and what did he say? And again, what he says now is not necessarily wrong. Can a mortal man be righteous before God? No, not in his own strength. Can a man be pure before his maker? No. So he's trying to give his words weight in what he does. Okay. Chapter 6, let's go over the page. Job's reply to Eliphaz. And Job said, if only my grief could be weighed and my devastation placed with it on the scales, and then it would outweigh the sand of the seas. That is why my words are rash. Surely the arrows of the Almighty has pierced me. My spirit drinks their poison. God's terrors have arrayed against me. And then it carries on. And he's talking about how he's been crushed in the midst of things. Go to the next page. In verse 11, what strength do I have that I should continue to hope? What is my future that I should be patient? Is my strength that of a stone, or my flesh made of bronze? Since I cannot help myself, the hope for success has been banished for me. A despairing man should receive loyalty from his friends. So he's going, yes, guys, I'm suffering. I am battling here. But really, this is not helping. The despairing man should receive loyalty from his friends, not be thrown under the bus. Verse 17, the wadis evaporate in warm weather. They disappear from the channels of hope. In other words, you guys are meant to be refreshing streams. And the minute the sun and the heat of life comes down, you all disappear like good old wadis. I end up with nothing. Thank you very much. 24, teach me and I will be quiet. Show me where I'm wrong. So now he's talking to Eliphaz, he's now talking to God. And he's going, God, teach me and I will be quiet. Show me where I've been wrong. Oh, the humility of this man, in that he doesn't understand what's going on. And again, remember at this point, his theology is the same as them. Remember, we saw it with Jesus as well, where the disciples said, what has this boy or his parents done that he is sick? And it's the same concept of, no. And it's the same, they've got that same mindset of, if I'm suffering, then there must be something bad in me. And that's his dilemma. But in that, he's going, but I'm a blameless man, not sinless. But I've come to God and asked forgiveness. I've made right with everything that I have. I don't see where this problem is. Help me. Teach me and I'll be quiet. Show me where I've been wrong.
What do we know he's speaking to God? Yeah.
I've cut out verses. You'll see there's jumps from 17 to 20. I just couldn't put everything in that is there. Reconsider. Don't be unjust. Reconsider. My righteousness is still the issue. So here he goes to God. What you're saying, for you to be behaving like this means I'm not righteous. What's going on? Why am I not righteous? I've come and I've given the sacrifices. I did it for my kids. I'm doing it for myself. What is it? Is there injustice on my tongue, or can my palate not taste disaster? And this is Job to God in response to Eliphaz. He continues there in chapter 7. What is a mere man that you think so highly of him and pay so much attention to him? And we see that in Psalms. Remember, I gave it to you, the Psalm 8. What is mankind that you are mindful of him? Human beings that you care for them. In Chronicles across the page. For the eye of the Lord, eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth. So he's like, God, your eyes are on me all the time, and it's like I can't move. Like, what's going on? Like you see everything, you know everything. Like, what? And if you carry on down in verse 21. Why not forgive my sin and pardon my iniquity? I've asked for this. What's going on? If I'm not righteous, that means you haven't pardoned me. Why? And so he's navigating this with God over and over again. Is it making sense so far?
Yes.
Sorry, I know I'm going fast, but I just want you to get the gist of it. Eliphaz speaks in chapter 22. So this is his second time or his third time around. Does he correct you and take you to court because of your piety? Isn't your wickedness abundant, and aren't your iniquities endless? So again, he won't let it go. No, you clearly must be sinful. There clearly must be so much junk in your life for this to be happening. For you took collateral from your brothers without cause, stripping off their clothes and leaving them naked. 22 verse 21. Come to terms with God and be at peace. In this way, good will come to you. So, do you hear what he's saying? He's like, so sort it out with God. Tell God all the wrong things you've done, and there will be peace. Receive instruction from his mouth and place his sayings in your heart. If you return to Almighty, you will be renewed if you banish injustice from your tent. So again, he keeps saying the same thing. Now we get to Job 8. Now Bildad speaks, and you're going to hear it's not much difference. How long will you go on saying these things? Your words are a blast of wind. Does God pervert justice? Does the Almighty pervert what is right? Again, listen to the harshness of it. Since your children sinned against him, he gave them over to their rebellion. So he's accusing Job's kids of sinning because they died. I mean, for friends like these. But if you earnestly seek God and ask the Almighty for mercy, it sounds so godly, doesn't it? It sounds so like, if you earnestly seek God and ask the Almighty for mercy, if you are pure and upright, then he will move even now on your behalf and restore the home where your righteousness dwells. Then even if your beginnings were modest, here we go, watch. Your final days will be filled with
prosperity.
Why are we doing this? Because we want God to give us back what we have. We want to be prosperous again. We want to get from God. Make sense?
It sounds just like the Pharisees.
Yeah, very much so.
And Jesus certainly didn't.
No, don't likely there, did he? But unfortunately, I think sometimes we sound a lot like that.
Yeah.
I'll serve you if and but.
So prosperity teaching has been here from.
Yeah. Always. Still Bildad speaking, Job 8 on the next page. Look, God does not reject a person of integrity, and he will not support evildoers. In other words, you can't be a man of integrity. Then you're an evildoer because of where. So your friend is calling you an evildoer. Thanks, bud. That's what I needed from you. But God said he was blameless. Remember chapter 1? God said, this is Job who is blameless in my sight. Yeah. So again, it's the voices of man using God's word opposed to what truth is and what God is saying in the midst of it. Okay, the third guy, Zophar. He speaks. Then Zophar, the Naamathite, replied, should this abundance of words go unanswered? Oh, for Pete's sake. And such a talker be acquitted? I'm like, dude. should your babbling put others to silence so that you can keep on ridiculing the one with no one to humiliate you? Verse 4. You have said, my teaching is sound and I am pure in your sight. So that he's heard Job. Job is going, but I have asked for forgiveness. I have done what I need to do. But if only God would speak and open his lips against you. What? He would show you the secrets of wisdom, for true wisdom has two sides. In other words, you think one thing, but actually wisdom is, you're not okay in that. Job 11, it's still Zophar speaking, and he says, as for you, if you redirect your heart and spread your hands to him in prayer, Who's been praying all the time and who hasn't? If there is iniquity in your hand, remove it, and don't allow injustice to dwell in your tents. Then you will hold your hands high, free from fault. You will be firmly established and unafraid, for you will forget your suffering, recalling it only as water that has flowed by. Your life will be brighter than the noonday. Its darkness will be like the morning. Again, it's about your life needs to sparkle again and be what... Okay, so Job's reply to Zophar. Then Job answered, I love it, listen to what he says. No doubt you are the people, and wisdom will die with you. It's like, you're the man, and clearly you know it all. So he's like now at the end of his dingus with this, he's like, dude, like really. So he continues, look, my eyes have seen all this. My ears have heard and understood it. Now I've listened to what you said. Everything you know, I also know. Like Job's like, this is not news to me. I know who God is. I know what he expects. I am not inferior to you. Good for him for knowing who he is and where he stands. But here's this next verse. Yet I prefer to speak to the Almighty and argue my case before God. In other words, like I would rather go to God with this, not you. Thanks, but like bugger off. The best one, this next verse I want to use in cards when I send it to people. You use lies like plaster. You are all worthless healers. Verse 5. If only you would shut up and let that be your wisdom. Sister, do I have a verse for you?
Say, it's just Job 8 verse 5.
Yeah, exactly. Hear now my argument and listen to my defense. Would you testify unjustly on God's behalf, or speak deceitfully for him? Would you show partiality to him, or argue the case in his defense? Would it go well if he examined you? So basically, he's going, that's fine. So remember, Job still has that understanding of who God is. He's going, yeah, you can side with God on this, but where are you standing in this? Yeah. Are you so perfect? Yeah. Like this it takes two to tango here. Could you deceive him as you would deceive a man? So in other words, you can act like these pious men around everybody else, but you are also just a human man with failings. Come on now. Mm-hmm. God's not fooled. Surely he would rebuke you if you secretly showed partiality. Would God's majesty not terrify you? Would his dread not fall on you? It's like, come on, man. Like, who is God? God is that big. How can you say the things you're saying? None of us are perfect. Verse 12. Your memorable sayings are proverbs of ash. Your defenses are made of clay. That one I don't have to tell you what he's saying. He's going, you can keep your fine words. Yeah. Job 16:2. I have heard many things like these. You are all miserable comforters. Yeah, miserable comforters. Job continued his discourse saying, as God lives, who has deprived me of justice, and the Almighty who has made me bitter. Now, so he's again, remember his standing point. His understanding is that's how God works, and that's the reality of it. He's in pain because of what God has chosen, because of how he works. But as long as my breath is still in me, and the breath from God remains in my nostrils, so he acknowledges where he comes from, where he stands in the pecking order of things, my lips will not speak unjustly, and my tongue will not utter deceit. I will never affirm that you are right. I will maintain my integrity until I die. I will cling to my righteousness and never let it go. My conscience will not accuse me as long as I live. He's like, even if this is, I am where I am because of God, I am not going to turn on God.
Yeah.
He is still my God.
Yeah.
I don't know where he is and what's going on, but I know he's God, and I'm not going to change that. And then, just very quickly, they look at sort of dynamics of. The commentators often at this point will look at dynamics of what does it mean to be a good comforter, because clearly these guys aren't. And why aren't they? And sometimes why aren't we good comforters? And they navigate these three, and I think they're worth mentioning. We are often not good comforters to people for fear. We fear. It's that thing of going when somebody's child dies and you want to comfort, but the instant thing that comes into your head is like, oh, that fear of, but what about like, is mine okay? When somebody's cancer returns and you've had cancer, and suddenly that fear rises in you of, is mine going to return? It's that thing. There's a part to when we comfort people that has to come from a place of faith, not fear. And often we are not great comforters because we don't navigate our own fear. Does that make sense?
And we always want a reason.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you can put it in a box.
Yeah. And what they hold, sometimes we act like it's catchy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's catchy if I'm going to speak about death. What about, no. Job 6:21 says, so this is what you have become to me. When you see something dreadful, you are afraid. And he acknowledges it to them. Hey guys, your own fear is rising up here. And it's easier for you to point fingers because then I don't have to look at my own life in navigating it. The next point about not being a great thing is defensiveness. And we see that with him. I didn't put verses because it's just so many, but the point is where people like Job is honest with God. He's not, remember, he doesn't question God. He gives God his questions, but he gives them the hard questions and the raw questions and the questions he doesn't have answers for. And we have this thing where we think we need to defend God.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, don't say that. How can you say that? Like, no, and we want to give right answers, we want to correct theology and whatever, and we're defensive. God's big enough to defend himself.
Yes.
We do not need to climb in there and be defensive. And so the thing that sometimes makes us dodgy kind of comforters is that we're way too defensive instead of being able to sit in the ash with the person and journey with them. The third thing is ignorance or inexperience. And it's basically what he's going to get at here. He's going, you just don't understand where I've been. If people haven't experienced grief or if they haven't experienced sickness or loss, it's often they come with inexperience and ignorance, and they all say things out of ignorance or inexperience because they haven't been there themselves. Yeah. In Job 16 it says, if you were in my place, I could also talk like you. Yeah. It's this thing of we've been there. Instead, I would encourage you. I would encourage you with my mouth, and the consolation from my lips would bring relief. Because I've been there, I can speak to a place. Like I would bring wisdom into this. And I've given you that 2 Corinthians, which we know, where it says that through the comfort we ourselves have received from God, he calls us to give comfort. That's that place of going, hey guys, it's about not being scared of where you've been, but understanding because you've been through it, you can give comfort. And that's what Job's saying. I can give comfort because I've been there. And that comfort is what I received from God. So I can be like Jesus because he gave me my comfort. So I can give you yours. Which is that piece. I'm not going to read the whole of 2 Corinthians, but that's what it's saying. And then the last thing there is arrogance and conceit, which I don't have to explain. It's just that where we come in, we think we know everything and we want to sort things out and give all the right answers and whatever. And end of the day, it isn't. Which is Job 28. Remember, this is what I told you. This is where it changes. And he goes, no. All your arrogance and conceit and that you think you know what's going on and you're going to sort me out and you're going to whatever, enough. And God's wisdom is allowed to come in. And that's the hymn of wisdom where everything changes in chapter 28. That verse 12, but where can wisdom be found? And where is understanding located? With God. Like that's where he gets to with this. It's like not with you, not with what you're saying, not with what you think. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got to do with who God is. Okay, everybody with me? Am I going too fast? Are we okay? So then Job 19, and this is quite a long passage, but I want you to read it. So he's really being real now. And he says, he has stripped me of my honor and removed the crown from my head. He tears me down on every side so that I am ruined. He uproots my hope like a tree. His anger burns against me, and he regards me as one of his enemies. Again, from his understanding of the way God works, okay? His troops advance together. They construct a ramp against me and camp around my tent. He has removed, now you will see he's now being honest about where things are at. He has removed my brothers from me. My acquaintances have abandoned me. My relatives have stopped coming by, and my close friends have forgotten me. My house guests and female servants regard me as a stranger. I am a foreigner in their sight. So he's been left on this ash heap. People don't want to be around him for various reasons. But again, I think it's that in case we catch it, in case that we somehow are blamed with the same stick because they whatever, and because the man smells, which you're going to see in a moment. I call for my servant, but he does not answer. Even if I beg him with my own mouth, my breath is offensive to my wife, and my family finds me repulsive. So the man is the thing. Even young boys scorn me. When I stand up, they mock me. All of my best friends despise me, and those I love have turned against me. So the man is it's hard going.
And isn't this a sign of what Jesus went through?
Very much so. Psalm 22. You'll see the similarities to it. My skin and my flesh cling to my bones. I have escaped with only the skin of my teeth. Have mercy on me, my friends. Have mercy, for God's hand has struck me. Why do you persecute me as God does? So he's okay with God doing this. His thing is like, so why do the rest of you need to? Will you never get enough of my flesh? I wish that my words were... Now, watch his change here. So he honestly owns everything and where he's at. He's not hiding anything. He's honest. He's vulnerable. And this is what real praise should be. Okay? And then he goes, I wish my words were written down and they were recorded on a scroll or were inscribed in stone forever by an iron stylus and lead. Verse 25. But I know that my Redeemer lives. And at the end, he will stand on the dust. Even after my skin has been destroyed, yet I will see God in my flesh. I will see him myself. My eyes will look at him, and not as a stranger. My heart longs within me. Do you see his desire? This is not a God that is far off. He's going, it's terrible, it's Ina, it's whatever. But end of the day is, I know that he's still God. I know what it was like. I love him and I always will honor him. He's good and I want to encounter him and I'm never going to not be there. In fact, you're going to hear him in a moment. He's going to call for a mediator. Like, something needs to breach this gap because I need him. I want him. Oh, that we would understand that intimacy and that pull that this man feels in this deal. If you say, how will you pursue him, since the root of the problem lies with him, then be afraid of the sword, because wrath brings punishment by the sword, so that you may know there is a judgment. What he's saying here is going, hey guys, be very careful. God, you don't understand the fullness of God if you go by his punishment. You are living by the wrong thing. Then if you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. But that's not what I live by. I live by the knowledge of my Redeemer. Make sense? Okay, Job 23. Job's reply to Eliphaz. Then Job answered, today also my complaint is bitter. His hand, God's hand, is heavy despite my groaning. If I only knew, watch here, what is he looking for? How to find him. So that I could go to his throne. I would plead my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn from how he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. I just want to hear what he said. Like I'm okay with his answers. You hear what he's saying? I will learn from what he says to me. I'm okay with what he says, with what the answer is as to why we distant. But I just want him. I just need to speak to him. I just need to hear his voice. Because I know it's good. I know he's for me. Even though this is going on. Where am I? Thank you. If I go to the east, he is not there, and I go to the west, I cannot perceive him. When he's at work in the north, I cannot see him. When he turns south, I cannot find him. Yet he knows the way I've taken. In other words, I can't find him at this point, but he knows where I am. He never leaves me. I know he's there. So I can't find him, but I know that he's there. When he tested me, and when he has tested me, I will emerge as pure gold. How cool is that? He's going, it's not about the stuff and the prosperity, but when he's finished with me, this God whom I love is going to make something beautiful out of it. How awesome is that? And then chapter 9, he replies, and he said, Job said, and this is, I love this. Then Job answered and said, truly I know that this is so, But how can a man be in the right before God? If one wishes to contend with him, one could not answer him once in 1,000 times. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength. It's like, come on, he is God and he's bigger. He is wise of heart and mighty in strength, who has hardened himself against me and succeeded. So I agree, but when he says, like, I agree with what God is saying and what you guys are saying, but the end of the day here is that somehow we need to be able to stand before God. Like I hear what you guys are saying, that there's sin and I need to sort it out, and I have. And if that's not the issue, what is preventing us from standing before God? It's that same thing of Psalm 130 says, Lord, if you kept account of iniquities, who could stand? Like that cannot be the final word, because we all carry these iniquities. Romans, it says, there is no one righteous, not even one. There must be a way, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
If God has created this, if this is all about me and God, and there's this junk between us, there must be a way. And then he goes on and he says, all alike have become worthless, and there's no one who does what is good, not even one. If God should deal with us on the basis of what we deserve, no one would ever be able to stand. So he's going, it's not about us, it's not about works. And so there's these two problems. He's got this problem of righteousness. And so we see this problem of righteousness, and you'll see there's a problem of remoteness, that God is not around. So he's going, because he's still going, well, am I then not righteous? I've come to know, how do we fix this problem of righteousness? And Isaiah says, all of us have become like something unclean, and all of our righteous acts are like polluted garments. It's like we've all done wrong. Ephesians 2, not for works, because that no one can boast. It's not about what we do. So clearly this argument that you've been having with me is not helpful. Yeah. And then in Romans it says, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And so we have this problem of we, in righteousness, we try to get righteousness, we try to be good. Doesn't get us there. The next thing we do is try to be religious. And we see that in other religions where you've got so many steps to follow. All of the other religions have so many steps to follow to achieve something. And then obviously most times it's not a certainty. It's like, if you do all these things, God may, And he's like, and which then is self-effort and self-righteousness. And he's like, no, that's not the way God works either. God is not about being religious, and he's not even about being sincere, because a lot of people go, but I'm sincere in that, in what I believe about God and how I follow God and whatever, and it's that Proverbs 3, so there is a way that seems right to a person, but it ends in the way of death. In other words, you can be sincere, but sincerely on the wrong road. Sincere is not going to help you here. So what's going to help the problem of righteousness? And then the other problem is remoteness. Job says here in chapter 9, he is not a mere mortal like me that I might answer him, and we might confront each other in a court. So it's his understanding of who he is in relation to God. Of going, I don't get to stand before God and to think he's not my equal that I can take him to court and tune him. That's not how this works. If there were someone, if only there was someone to mediate between us, someone to bring us together. He understands the chasm. He understands the breach. But he says, God is great and I am not. But and these friends are accusing him, but he needs a representative. He needs a mediator. Next page. Isaiah 59 says, surely the arm of the Lord is not too short to save. Romans says, but now apart from the law of righteousness, the righteousness of God has been made known, to which the law and the prophets testify. The righteousness is given through faith in Jesus Christ to all who believe. 1 Timothy 2:5. For there is one God and one mediator between God and mankind, the man Christ Jesus. So here, where is the question of Job answered? In the New Testament. Job is going, I need righteousness and I need someone to join me to God, because I'm remote. I'm stuck out kippy in the wherever. Who's going to fix the problems? Because the problem is righteousness and remoteness. Who's going to fix it? And resoundingly in the New Testament Jesus says, I am your righteousness. I have died. I become your righteousness and I stand in your stead. And I am your mediator. I take you and I'm your advocate and I stand in defense with God and I bring the two of you together. So Job's question is never answered in Job, but it's answered in Jesus.
And God gets the victory because Jesus was the one who brought Satan down.
He defeated Satan. And all this assumption the whole way of, my people will not follow me because your people won't follow you because they want things. Here was a man who, even when he didn't know the answer, here's the challenge. This man never knew the answer. You and I sit here, we know those answers. There it's given to us. The last verse there, Hebrews. For this reason, Christ is the mediator of the new covenant, that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance. Now that he has died as a ransom to set them free from sins committed under the first covenant. So he's like, we know the answer. Do we seek him with the same passion and the same heart as Job, who never knew that answer, but believed in a God that was bigger and that he just wanted to be? He knew that he was good. He knew that he was made for relationship with him, and he was blameless. He'd done what it was needed to be for that to get out of the way here, and he didn't believe the lies and this false counsel from everybody else that, oh, you're never going to get there. He's like, I know there has to be a way.
Yeah.
And a very long time afterwards, the answer comes in the fullness of that. So you and I get to stand in Job and look at this, but we don't get to react where Job reacts from. I don't have those questions. I know where my righteousness is. I am not remote. My mediator has brought us together and we are one. We did Ephesians. We are in Christ. He has made us one. So as we navigate life, there's these challenges of Job of going, is it all about him and for him? That's what Job's asking. Is your life that you are living, no matter what happens, is it all about him and for him? Because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Yep. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And is it hard? Yes. Am I able to resolve that because of who God is? Yes. But then I walk out, but it's just God, never. It's all about you and me. It can never not be that. Because otherwise we suck. Yeah? So that was 27 chapters. Well done, ladies.
That was a speed session.
You can go and read it. But it's isn't it beautiful? This man's heart. I just no wonder God was so chuffed with this man. There's a slang word we haven't used for a long time. Chuffed. But it's that thing of going, oh man, look at him. There's no one else on earth like him. Yes. Oh, that Jesus would say that about us.
Written before the Old Testament was written. That's the
completely.
Yeah.
That we would carry truth rightly and that it would lead us to Jesus.
Yes.
Not lead us to condemnation, not lead us to judgment, but carry justice in a way that is with forgiveness and with love, with righteousness and mediation, because we are one in Jesus.
Yeah.
So let's pray. Oh God, you are so good. Thank you. Thank you that it doesn't matter what we see or what's going on around us. You never change. You are sovereign. You are over it all. And you are good. You don't do good. You are good. You are love. You are righteousness. You are justice. And forgive us when we pick and choose and pull it apart and we end up with something that is dodgy. Thank you, Lord, that we get to embrace the fullness of you. And that you, the God above all, the sovereign one, would seek to be one with us. That blows my mind. But that's what you've done. You've come close and become one. Because of Jesus, we are now one in you. That in you we live and move and have our being. That no matter what are the storms around us in this frail, sinful world that we live in, that is our firm foundation. You are the one that's been firmly beneath our feet. You are the one that never changes. You are the one that we get to do this in and with and through. And you never give us more than we can handle with you. Help us, please forgive us when we try to do it alone and then become bitter. It's meant to be about doing it in you and with you. Thank you that when we're there, we have everything that we need for life and godliness. So let us walk in the fullness of that. Teach us, take us deeper into that intimacy. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.